Hey everyone, we're going to take a quick minute to talk about our sponsors who we love, and we are only partnered up with companies that we truly believe in, one of which is Primal Kitchen. Primalkitchen.com, soy-free, grain-free, canola oil-free, lots of healthy condiments and dressings. And these are the things that really make food good, right? It's the oils, the dressings, the toppings, but most of them in the store are filled with horribly offensive ingredients and toxic oils. So go to primalkitchen.com. Everything from incredible mayo, dressings and marinades, protein bars, collagen, drink mixes, and etc. And use Kick-Ass Life for 10% off as your code.
Hey everyone, want to tell you about our sponsor, Rep Provisions. Rep Provisions is a regenerative agriculture company that provides meat that is grass-fed, pasture-raised, and actually raised in a regenerative agriculture approach, which means that they're actually moving the cattle along, just like predators would have in the past, to help them manure and grow the grasslands and then allow that time to grow back again before they move the cattle back, which is really cool, you guys, because this is what's happening to the planet. This is why cattle raising is getting such a bad name, is because they're not raising them the way that Rep is, right? So when they do that, it allows us to actually save the planet. So when you support companies like Rep Provisions that are doing regenerative agriculture, you're actually helping support the future of the planet. It's really important. And so not only is it really cool to do stuff like that, but their meat tastes far superior to any beef I have ever had. And they're giving you guys 10% off if you use coupon code KICKASSLIFE. So head over to repprovisions.com and enter KICKASSLIFE at checkout for 10% off.
I think one of my favorite hacks, and some of the stuff we're going to mention is probably going to be supplementation, but one of the biggest things that has been so helpful to myself and to other people are the implementation doing either a short course or a long course of systemic enzymes, not digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes, you take them, you swallow them, they break apart in your stomach and they, digest the food. Systemic enzymes are different, or you could look up proteolytic enzymes. And these are enteric coated, they bypass the stomach, they go through, and they basically act like brush cleaners in the blood. This is major anti-inflammatory. Olympic teams use it in other countries. For example, people have cured their asthma. Those people with cancer or asthma or something really serious might have to take 20 pills a day. I have a friend that I was helping biohack some stuff recently and introduce them to Dr. Forsman, and I brought up systemic enzymes because they have had very serious lung issues for like their entire life. They must have been exposed to something. They've tried everything they could. And I said, maybe you should look into systemic enzymes because people with asthma have completely gotten off inhalers with this stuff. And after 3 weeks, I got a call and it was like, I have never been able to breathe this deeply again. Now, part of the reason that could be the case is that systemic enzymes help dissolve scar tissue. So you stop them 2 weeks before surgery, but you also want to pick them up 2 weeks after surgery to help, because you want some of that natural healing to be in place, but then you don't want it to get out of control. I did a whole podcast on it with Jolene Goring, Jolen Goring, Goring. You can type in her name and Elle Russ. That podcast will come up, all about systemic enzymes. They're also a major anti-ager. So it's, to me now, I take a maintenance dose every day. But what it helped me was I had serious thick, sticky blood when I was pre-diabetic, and I had excess fibrinogen in my body. Excess fibrin, sticky, think about it like fibrous. And it just goes and cleans it out. And one of the adverse effects that I was like, what happened is my fibrocystic breast went away, my naughty breast, fibro, get it, right? Fibrocystic fibrosis, right? Lungs. And then also I had had an injury. I dropped some heavy thing on my foot and there was a weird nodule there and it kind of never healed. And a year later, I'm like, it's a little thing in between my little toe. And when I started to take the systemic enzymes, it flared up a second and then it went away, and it's been gone for years now. So just look into this as a course of treatment for oh my God, life overhaul, clean my shiz out kind of thing, and also definitely for inflammation. But they are blood thinners, so you do want to be careful with not taking like a crap load of turmeric or fish oil with it. I use vitalzym XE. I have no affiliation with that company. That's just the professional strength of the systemic enzymes that Dr. Forsman initially gave me, and I have literally been on them for years. And you have to gradually work your way up. So the details of that are in the podcast I did with her, but this is sort of, and it's an expensive supplement. But I got to tell you, if there's one thing in my cabinet like that I'm not going to go without, it's that. So that's one of my favorites.
This is really great. If somebody wanted to if they're sitting here thinking, do I need that? Where would you recommend they start to even consider it?
Well, I would just look up systemic or proteolytic enzymes because, it'll get confusing. You'll see stuff about digestive enzymes and you'll think it's the same thing and it's not. But honestly, that podcast I did with Jolene Goring on the Primal Blueprint. So again, just type in Jolene Goring, and Elle Russ, it'll pop up and listen to that. We talk about dosing. We talk about everything. It's just a fascinating thing. So I'm going to I just take like 2 pills in the morning and that's my thing. But if I went through something where I got really sore or I felt inflamed in life, I might kick it up to a bigger dose of like 3 pills and 3 pills. I do want to say this about it. It has to be taken on an empty stomach, but it can be taken with thyroid hormones. So for those people who take thyroid hormones, we have to take them on an empty stomach. So it's very convenient that you can take your systemic enzymes with them because it's one of the few things you can take with thyroid hormone when you're not supposed to take it with other stuff. So this has been nothing short of like a miracle in my life. And I didn't know what I was taking it for initially when he gave it to me. I thought it was for inflammation or whatever, but I didn't know that it was going to do the breast thing and do the thing on the foot with the scar tissue and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, and it can be, if you do it aggressively at first, you kind of got to build up because it'll be an ass blowout. It cleans out, and what it does is you notice like mucus will be in your stool, and you'll be like, "What's that?" It's just a great cleaner outer, a great life haul. Even if you did a course for 6 months and then did a maintenance for a couple, stop, decide if you want to continue with it. But that is one of and I've had even people call me and go, "That's the thing that changed it for me was just that." So anyway, that's my favorite, biggest one. Yeah.
I'm going to be a little hippie weirdo right now because we're okay with a little bit of hippie weirdo.
I'm in California. We're all about that shit over here.
I'm blown away right now because I've never done something like this before, but somebody recommended that I go see this lady who like sees your spirit guides, right? And I was like, okay, sure, let me do it. I'm going to go. And I go, and she was a beautiful woman. Like, it was so cool. And it was actually really interesting. And I'm going to talk about this in a second, actually. But she's like, your guides want you to know that your minerals are low. And I was like, well, holy shit. Because I'm like, I actually have scientific proof that what you're saying is true. Like, there's no way. She didn't even know what I did for a living. She knew nothing about me, right? And she's like, your minerals are low. And what was really interesting about it was that my intuition had been telling me over and over, because I did the hair analysis with upgraded formulas, which I'll talk about in a second because I do that with my clients, and it's really cool. And I had my magnesium was the lowest I've seen of anybody, right? So I was like, so I've been really on top of that magnesium, and I definitely noticed difference in my REM sleep. I didn't think I had anxiety or felt anxious, but then when you stop feeling like that, you're like, yep, I definitely was. and I've noticed those differences, but there was a bunch of other stuff I was supposed to take, like potassium and iodine and all. And I've been like, oh, I can't remember what he said. I'm just like crap shooting him, and I'm like, it's been like pulling at me so much. Like, go look up the freaking email and like put it up in your cabinet and take the right dosage, and then I go in there and she's like, they want you to know, this is what she said, they want you to know that your secondary minerals are low. I was like, what? This is so freaking weird. And then the other thing she said was, and also that your blood is kind of thick. Like, your blood is thick. And I've been kind of a little bit at a loss with that. So hearing you say that right now, I'm like,
that can be a genetic thing though too. That could be partially genetic, by the way. So when Dr. Forsman did a comprehensive, initial thing on me, and he found this excess fibrinogen and stuff, the other thing too, he was like, well, listen, this is making your, blood kind of already thicker anyway. But you are already naturally a thick-blooded human being based on some genetic test. I don't even know the test that he took. And so he's like, so to compound on top of that, right? And by the way, had I not taken those systemic enzymes and had they not worked, I would have had a stroke or a heart attack. That's actually the reason I took them, because he was like, if this stuff doesn't work, we're going to have to go to another level. And I mean, dude, 42 years old, like what? No, heart attack, stroke, thick blood. And the phlebotomist, I could feel like I couldn't get it out of the stuff. So again, there's lots of things you can do for that. But I love that they called out the minerals and you had already had the proof and you did. I love it when stuff like that happens.
And it was like on my mind too. It was like, get on top of that. I was like, wow, that was crazy. The other thing, I want to mention Dr. Forsman real quick. So Dr. Gary Forsman he consulted on Elle's book, The Paleothyroid Solution. And you probably interviewed him maybe more than once. I don't know.
Like 7 times or something, yeah.
Primal Blueprint. Yeah. And I interviewed him too on Inside Out Health, and he's amazing. And I remember saying that, I'm like, what are the big hitters, Dr. Forsman? I mean, he is so incredible. And I remember him saying that he felt like these enzymes were one of the most important things you could do for your health. And like, he has been around the block. I mean, he is an internal medicine doctor. Like, it's, so I'm very interested. I'm like, yep. What is that? Vitalzym XE?
Vitalzym XE. And, it's pretty expensive. I'm not going to lie. And it's something that, you got to like, get a couple boxes and do a couple months worth maybe to see. But I saw results within 30 days. I mean, I felt them.
Do you recommend people do blood work first to see if these...
You don't have to, because you can take it for general systemic, like clean out, detox overhaul. But sure, if you're curious as to whether you really want to invest in it or not, there are some tests you can take. I don't know that, the excess fibrinogen, so it would be fibrinogen activity would be the blood result. That what was really high with me. But you may have inflammation indicated by other markers that would necessitate you take them. So again...
Cool.
Not being a functional. And by the way, we're going to just have to make this disclaimer. We're not doctors, people. Everything we say, you got to check in with your medical professionals. This is not advice. These are the things we've learned, but we've also been counseled by medical professionals on. So these are just tips to take to your doctor and not to be taken as medical advice from us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is cool stuff that we've been onto lately that has made a big impact, turned the needle. I'm looking at stuff that's turned the needle for me and for clients, right? I'm like, because there's so many things. There's so many biohacking things. There's so many supplements. There's so many health approaches. It's just overwhelming now. So I'm like, I'm not really interested in the stuff that only kind of helps or it sounds cool intellectually. Like, wow, that's really cool. Did you know this does this? And it's like, well, did it change your life? Was it that level of awesome? That's all I'm like, I want that level of awesome.
That's right. That's the kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and start with one for me, and that's definitely been cold showers. I've talked about this a lot, but cold therapy, wow. I mean, if you want to really dig into the master Yoda, just go look up Wim Hof, WIMHOF, the Iceman. He'll tell you everything you need to know, but it's amazing what this cold therapy can do for our bodies. And one of those things, if you don't know, is like it will help increase brown fat or brown adipose tissue, which is mitochondrial dense fat. So it's metabolically active. It has a lot of mitochondria in it, right? It's a powerhouse. And when we do cold, when we have this exposure to cold, we increase our brown fat. You want as much as you can get. We don't have that much. Little kids have more, but when you do cold showers, you get that. And I have found, like, I've done cold therapy a lot. I really like it. It kind of gets out my, like, I'm going to be a badass and look how stoic I can be side. But what I found is that just doing it periodically, like, I think even if you have a cold plunge thing, like you're like a really awesome biohacky person that has like the tub and all that, I'm like, how often are you doing it? Because I feel like consistency is the biggest hitter on this one. I mean, anything you can do is great, but I found for me just doing, and I can't do this in the summer, but in the winter in Utah when the ground freezes and there's just snow everywhere and those pipes are just so cold under the ground, the water from the showers gets so cold. So like in the summer, truly, I don't even really do it that much because I don't get the same effect. In the winter, it is like, it's brutal. I'm not going to lie. It is like, it hurts. It hurts. It's so cold. And I did that during a really stressful time of my life, and it was such a game changer for me. Like, not only like being able to feel more in control of like my response in the shower, that was cool, right? Like, it was cool to see myself go from freak out to chill out and embrace it. But it started to infiltrate my mindset on everything else in my life. Like, it truly gave me control over my autonomic nervous system. I cannot say enough about cold therapy and what it's done for me. But the biggest thing for me, the way I do it, people say, okay, like, how do I get started? One, I will say, I don't even know if this is optimal. I just can't do any better than this. But I do not just start out cold. I'm sure that's probably better, but I'm just not that gangster. I cannot do that. So I just take a regular shower, and at the end, don't think about it. Just do it. Just turn that thing as cold as it can get, and still water will come out.
And you might be swearing at yourself in the shower. I've been there, and I've been like, this son of a... But you do it, and you just like 30 seconds, just do, but you do it, and then afterwards you're like, ooh, that feels good.
You'll react, but you know what I learned? Like, for me, what really helped is if I stayed, I made a rule for myself that I couldn't get out until I no longer wanted to get out. Because to me, that was truly gaining control over my stress response, right? So I would just stay in there until I was like, I could stay in here all day, right? And then I would get out. And I think it was probably about a minute. I was aiming to get about 60 seconds, so I'd kind of count in my head. Yeah. That not only that, but it also really helped regulate my body temperature. I noticed that, like, I was one of those I'm cold all the time people, and I went from that to never again. Like, and I haven't done it consistently all summer. I'm just starting to get back into it now. But even, all the time, whether I'm in a really cold house that's, somebody's got the AC cranked at like 60, I'm like way, way better at maintaining my body temperature too. So really, really cool hack.
Yeah, those things, I mean, that first of all, that is so true, everything you said, and it actually does help with temperature adjustments, and that's the part about hitting the cold hard. It's a stress, right? It's this temporary stress. I actually did it this morning. I do this sometimes intentionally. So it's been hot as F in California for the most part, but now we're entering fall where it's like 50 degrees in the morning or 55 degrees, which is cold for us. So this morning I made an extra effort to make an appointment to go swimming at 7 a.m. Not my jam, Tara. I do not want to be in that freaking pool at 7 a.m.
Right.
But I did it because I was like, it's going to be cold. And I know what it's like, and I'm going to be standing on the edge of the pool in my bikini, 50-degree weather, and then I have to jump in, and then I have to take a shower outside, and that whole shit is good for you, man. Sometimes suffering is good for you. So I went and did that. Even when I woke up this morning, I was like, I went there, I'm standing, I go, I can't believe I'm even here, and I jumped in this cold-ass pool, and by the way, each time I'm putting my arm out of the pool, the air is freezing. Oh, I felt so good. It just takes a few minutes to get into it. And then afterwards, because I'm swimming in a cool pool, afterwards, cold shower, cold air around me. It was kind of like a cold therapy session in a way, a little bit. But it was that toughen up, jump in the cold lake kind of thing. And I think that's important. We do that to ourselves every now and then.
Yeah. I'm lucky here in Utah too to live in the mountains. So like right now it's just starting to get cold. It's the fall, and so there's a waterfall. I found a perfect cold plunge at the top of this waterfall this past weekend, and that stuff is freaking cold. It is as cold as any cold plunge gets. But then there was still the sun was shining, and there was this big slab of granite. So I just got in there, did my breathing, my breath work. We'll talk about breath in a second. And then laid out on that sun, on that big warm rock, and just, the plunging sound of the water by the waterfall is just incredible. So this is what I want to say too about any biohacking stuff. My personal standard is this: is it helping me mimic nature in my modern lifestyle? I'm in because we are nature. We are nature, and
yep.
I truly believe that part of one of the biggest reasons, honestly, that we are so depressed and anxious and out of touch and sad and all that is because we are so disconnected from nature. We sit in these boxes all day. Like, we did so good with our shelters. Like, if you think of like going out in the wild and having to build a shelter, I mean, man, we nailed it. We made some really, really
solid
dope
shit. Yeah.
So dope that we don't want to leave them, right? Which is not good for us. Like, we need nature. We need vitamin D. We need negative ions in the air. We need connection. We need to release our minds. We need to meditate. So for me, the measuring stick is, does that mimic nature? And I can do it on the daily, or I can do it more regularly than having to take some big old trip into nature. Okay, cool. I'm in. So that's my standard. Let's hit breath for a second. Yeah. Breath work a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, first let's just talk about probably the best book on it, right? Called Breathe.
I haven't read that.
Oh gosh. Who's the author? I'm terrible that I don't remember his name. Check it out, guys. I had a friend who recently read it and has struggled with anxiety for a while, started to do these breath exercises. He's like, I tell you what, his headaches has started to get lower, probably more oxygen, and the stress level and ability for him to navigate, in a chill way, absolutely has happened from doing that. What's his name, the author?
James Nestor.
James Nestor? It's called Breathe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or Breath or something?
Yeah, is it Breath? Because I found.
Is it Michael something with breath? It might be breath.
The New Science of Lost Art. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's probably it.
Maybe I'm quoting the wrong book. I don't know. But I'll share my experience with breath on a couple different ways. One is holotropic breath work. So if you're not familiar with, that's the book. That's
James
the
Nestor,
guy?
yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Cool. We'll put it in the show notes, guys. But holotropic breath work is a way to basically, in a similar, it's not exactly the same, but it's similar to a psychedelic state that you might go into where you do a lot of deep emotional processing. There's all different ways you can do it now. I did one when I was at Rhythmia in Costa Rica doing ayahuasca called transformational breath work. It was incredible. It was basically holotropic breath work, which means you breathe in a rhythmic pattern. So for us, it was in and out of your mouth, and you are using your diaphragm, baby. And you get in there and you're like, I'm not gonna be able to maintain this for like an hour. This is like hard. You're like, it's a little slower than that, but it's so incredible. And I process so many emotional things. I mean, I was bawling like a baby. I don't like crying in public. I admit that's a personality flaw. I was just bawling.
It's an alpha flaw. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want people to know I'm crying. And I was bawling, like not just a little bit of crying. And it was so healing, so therapeutic, so amazing. I've done a couple other holotropic breath workshops. So if you want to get like really deep into breath work, that is really cool. Of course, Wim Hof with the cold, he also has a breathing technique that he does. And so that's something to look into as well. But I also just wanted to share this. One time I was working on my laptop, and a breath expert was on an Instagram live, and I just had it playing while I was working. And he said, it was just such a beautiful moment for me because it made such an impact. But he was like, check yourself. Like right now, are you breathing through your nose or through your mouth? And I was like, because he said it right then, I was like, I am totally breathing through my mouth right now. I'm not even walking around. I'm just sitting here on my laptop, shallow breathing through my mouth. And so he went into it, and I just want to share this because it's been so helpful for me to catch myself on this. He's like, we have noses for a reason. We have the nitric oxide that goes at, like all those little hairs that we have and all that snot, it's there for a reason. It's like an air purifier, and it's cleansing the air as it goes in and out of our bodies. But it's not just that. He said that when you breathe in and out of your nose, when you're at rest, as you should, you will create, when you breathe out, you'll create a backflow effect that actually pushes air deep into your lower lungs where you have parasympathetic nerve receptors. So when you're breathing in and out of your nose, it's basically signaling to your body, hey body, everything's safe right now. You don't need to be stressed. You can go ahead and go into parasympathetic or rest and digest mode, and you can chill. And I have caught myself on this. Like when I'm stressed out, I'm like, dude, am I even breathing? I'm like barely breathing. So I'll just do these checks when it pops up. They don't have to get all like, now you have a routine at 3. I mean, you can do that if you want, but I just check myself sometimes, and I'm like, wow. And I'll just take some big, deep breaths in and out of my nose. And I feel like I can literally feel my parasympathetic nervous system activate. Like I'm like so relaxed. I just do like 5 to 10 like big, long, deep breaths, and you can feel it. So I just want to share that because that's like.
Okay. Where did you end there? We got cut off. We had a little technical difficulty. Talk about breath work.
I'm wrapping up breathing in and out of your nose. We can move on from breath. What's another one that you had, Elle?
So, milk thistle and dandelion is a combination for a variety of things. So it doesn't matter if you have elevated liver enzymes. I'm not a drinker, but if you're a drinker, that would behoove you. That's a little bit of a hangover kind of natural cure. It's a gentle liver cleanser. It also can really help with reverse T3 issues and stuff in larger amounts. But I always keep milk thistle and dandelion around because premenstrual, a little bit of bloat, or you eat something way too salty, you went out and you're like, oh my God, I'm busting through my skin. That's the time you take milk thistle and dandelion because it makes you pee it out. Dandelion is a diuretic. You can take dandelion in a tincture, you can drink the tea, it'll make you pee. So if you need to like pee it out, you know what I mean, and you get bloated, you have extra salt, that's always a hack, and I always keep that stuff around just in case, because you never know. You go to someone's house, you eat something, next thing you know, you're like, oh my God, my hands are swelling, or I feel just extra bloaty, and it's just kind of like deflates you. So that's a really good one. The other one too is, I don't know if you use them, but I have 2 friends that are global aromatherapists, and they turn me on to essential oils. Now I am not a rep for doTERRA, but I know that they strongly go by and they realize the strict standards that doTERRA essential oils takes. But essential oils have absolutely changed my life. So from putting spearmint on your hand to breathing it in, talking about breath and getting like clear sinuses, to a drop of frankincense under the tongue, headache reliever, and it also is one of the only oils that crosses the blood-brain barrier, so it can wake you up. So if you're like, I'm unmotivated, I don't want to go to this event, I got to go beyond for this, it's like 2 drops under the tongue, and wakey, and also headache gone. Another thing, like peppermint. Stop with the gum and the breath fresheners. Like, get a good quality essential oil that you can take internally. Not are all created equal, but I use doTERRA peppermint. Keep that around all the time. Boom, on the tongue, fresh breath. It's also got a cooling effect. So if it's too high, you can put a couple drops on the back of the neck. There's so many uses for essential oils, and so I've just loved having them in my life. I use a combination of them for immunity protection. I always use I swear by oregano oil, particularly North American Urban Spice oregano oil, P73. And this is just like, man, I mean, from anything to you've got a fungus you need to get rid of, you can take it internally. It's a protective, like people are sick around you and it's like, okay, vitamin C, D, and a drop of oregano oil for a couple of days. It's what I would do if people were sick around me. I would be like, so since the pandemic, I do about like one little drop a day. And it's also a great thing. You can take some coconut oil, shove it in your mouth, take a drop of oregano oil, swish it all around like oil pull, spit it out for mouth stuff or to heal and seal kind of gums, things like that. So yeah, it's some strong stuff and it's very powerful, and you don't want to overuse it because it can be, you don't want it to knock out all the good bacteria as well, because it's like an antifungal, antibacterial. But man, this is something that like I would, if I go to any third world country, that's exactly what I'm bringing with me, is that one thing. Is that because it'll clear water, anything going on, you just every day, it was like twice a day. I probably did it when I was in Africa. The people I was with who didn't do it got riddled with parasites horrifically. Wow. And I swear, we ate all the same stuff. We were together the whole entire time. And I swear that like it was because every day I was like, I am not messing around. This is Africa. Like I am not messing around. And so I just swear by that stuff. I know you probably know the uses of oregano oil, but again, like just I love essential oils, and that's just for calming, like lavender. Right? doTERRA's got a mix called Digestion. I've had moments where I'm like burping and gassy and weird, and I'm like, I don't know what, that's weird. I have an iron stomach. I take a drop of that Digestion, and next thing you know, a couple burps, I'm like, everything's great. You can even rub it on, your kid's tummy. So getting into essential oils and learning about them can be really helpful for just everything.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to hit too, real quick. I wanted to hit on some like hacks for staying lean and strong, right?
Yeah.
And sharing those things that I figured out. So by far, I'm sure all of you have probably, our audience, if you're listening to us, you've probably tried intermittent fasting. If you haven't tried intermittent fasting, I suggest that. I say play with it. For some people, this works really well. For others, it doesn't. If there's certain, I do like a neurotyping system with my clients for certain like brain chemistry, different people who are wired differently, it can work really, really well. I'm one of those people. So I've experimented from, regular, we'll call it regular intermittent fasting, like 8-hour window, to right now I'm experimenting with 1 meal a day. So it's like a 23-hour fasting window. And I'll share a little bit about that. I'm really considering writing an ebook on 1 meal a day. That's why I'm experimenting with it so much. I've done like 4 hours and 2 hours and 1 hour. And
yeah, what's your window right now? What do you find is the optimal window for that 1 meal a day?
Yeah, I'll share some things I've learned in others too. So for me, I really like doing it. I'm eating around either like 12 to 1 or 1 to 2 is about where it's falling. But I'm having to shift some things in my life. So I'm still playing with it, because normally I'm going to get up really early before the sun rises, do my morning routine, create my power hour. Like I love that so much. But I feel like the way I've shifted it with 1 meal a day is I'd really like to time it so that I'm eating pretty close to after I work out. Right, because that's the time you're most insulin sensitive, and so it makes sense to eat at that time.
And you've lifted, so you're talking protein, right, for the muscles that you just worked on.
Exactly. So you can go in repair mode, and also like have your carb. I'm eating carbs. Have my carbs go into refilling glycogen versus just fat stores. Right. It's a more optimal time to eat. So because of that, I'm like sleeping in later. I'm going to the gym at like 9 after I drop my kids off to school. So I'm always adjusting, right? I'm always planning like what's my optimal flow here. So I'm still experimenting with that one, but that's what I'm doing. So I'll go work out from like, I get there like 9:30 to 11 and then come home, shower, whatever, start making my food. I'm eating around like 12 to 1. That's been working really well. I admit, like, sometimes at dinner, like the first day you get in it, if you do this, like 6 o'clock, I'm like, wow, that looks really yummy. I wish I could have dinner. Like it's like kind of hard like that. Like,
do you feel hungry though? Do you feel like you're purposely making the choice, or do you feel like, no, it's just a brain thing? You're not really hungry. You're just looking at it and kind of,
My stomach was definitely growling. You know what I mean? I was definitely like my stomach's growling, but it's not like I had low energy. But the first day, like when I take breaks from it and I go back into it, the first day does suck, and I just trying to be funny with my kids and stuff. I'm like, wish I could have food. I'm just playing with them. They're like, you can do it. We have a very like loving relationship towards like all these health experiments. They know that it's all like based in self-love, and I'm not like starving myself skinny, right. And they understand it all. But yeah, that's been what happens is like the first day into it, you're kind of like, wow, it's kind of hard. I'm kind of hungry. And then, you got to go to the gym the next day and you're like 20 hours fasted, right? So, but it's such a cool thing to train your body to be able to do that, to teach your body to perform on what it already has on the inside. And as you continue to do that, you just get better and better and better at it. And that hunger stuff starts to go away. You might feel it a little bit, but what's cool about it is you start to develop a healthy relationship with hunger, because you learn, just like when you fast normally, you're like, oh yeah, I'm hungry right now, but like, it's going to go away in like 10 minutes. And do I have energy? I do. Like my brain might be hungry and my stomach might be hungry, but like my body feels totally fine. And it's really cool to kind of have those mental conversations. I'm interested in it for two reasons. One is for longevity. I think it's really fascinating, like metabolic health and longevity, right? Because when we go...
Are you talking about because you're spending more time in autophagy because of that?
Going into AMPK, you're creating so mTOR is like when your body is building, right? You eat, you go into mTOR, once you start to run out of cellular energy, you go into AMPK and you go into autophagy, which is like it's cleanup time, it's repair time. So you're allowing a lot of repair time every day in your body. So your gut lining can heal, your cells can like, what do we call it? Like cannibalize.
Yeah, they like eat themselves essentially. Yeah.
Right. And create new ones. And so I'm interested in it from that standpoint. I'm also interested in it from a entrepreneurial ease standpoint of like, to me, it feels like I go into the watering hole. I just freaking feast. I eat whatever I want. I mean, there's like, of course, it's like that. This is your window. So get your nutrients in, like eat some vegetables, eat some protein, make sure you're being self-loving, but you can kind of eat whatever you want because you're only eating once, and it's this wonderful, like, I feel like a queen, honestly. Like, I feel like I'm just like feasting on a little bit of this and a little bit of that and whatever I want. It's like really wonderful. And then it's like, something about it, like after I do it for a few days, my energy just increases like crazy. Like I feel so good on it. So for me, I'm really, really loving it. And I also really like it from a like a satisfaction standpoint with eating, instead of having to be like all up in your head about your macros and limiting and all it. Like it's just, honestly, when you're 23 hours fasted, like to me, I appreciate the meal so much more. I slow down. I naturally slow down, and I just like take my time, and I don't know, it's just been a really healthy, wonderful thing. I don't know what I'm exploring right now is like people who don't have maybe as efficient guts as I have. A really efficient gut. Like my gut can take down the food. Like it's a bottomless gut. So I don't know, like for some people, if you have like gut issues and you feel like you can only eat like 300 calories and you just can't eat for like an hour, like that might be an issue, So I don't know if it's for everyone, obviously, but for me, it's been working really well. So I just thought I'd share that, just as a food for thought. And I obviously have to do more research, but it's really great for people who don't want to exercise. Like it's a really great way to maintain insulin sensitivity if realistically that person is just not going to get to the gym. They're not going to work out. Like, okay, create a longer fasting window so they can get that insulin sensitivity on the daily. So it's a cool option for those kind of people too. And then the other thing is, I just want to like recommend whatever your eating approach is, I do recommend training fasted and then eating after training. It's just a smart time to eat. And I think I was listening to...
By the way, thanks for giving everyone permission for that, because you know what? It's like, and I've talked to Mark about this before. Back in the day, it's so confusing. The old paradigm, it's like, you got to fuel up for your workouts. I just recently interviewed someone, and they were like, well, and there's women going into the gym, and they're not fueling up for their workouts. And I was like, oh, God. And I could only call her on kind of like one thing in the interview, because I didn't want to like disagree with her on the whole thing. But that just made me crazy, because I wanted to be like, no, you don't. I mean, unless you're on the old sugar-burning paradigm, right? Like, it was so confusing. It's like, protein before and then after, and you're like, just screw it, no, eat after.
So my only thing on that is one is you're running off of the stored glycogen in your muscles to convert that into ATP, that into energy, right? So all of us have glycogen stored in our muscles. Some of us have more or less than others, but that's what you're converting into ATP for energy in your workouts, right? So it's already in there. You got your food, you packed it away in your muscles. It's ready to go. It's in your liver. It's in your muscles. It's all packed up. You packed up your lunch yesterday when you ate food. So that's in there. And then also, the other thing is the only like caveat I have to that is there is like one of my neurotypes that I do in the testing that I do where, they tend towards higher cortisol and adrenaline. And so sometimes for those people, I will do a little teeny bit of carbohydrate, right? Like they don't need a lot. They need like 5 to 10 grams, like barely any, just to prevent adrenaline and cortisol from going through the roof, right? So
Right.
that's it. But that's like a very, small population minutia. In general, I think it's really important to train your body to be fasted, be able to train fasted. In general, I think it's so important for us to train our bodies to know that they don't need all this stuff that we think they need. We think they need caffeine. We think they need food when they don't. There's so many times that we are in this mindset of like, I can't because I don't have enough. I need extra help. And no, you don't. You got it. You got it. Like, look at what the human body is capable of. Look at these extreme cases. It's like, okay, somebody ran 100 miles. Like, you think you can't like go to the gym and lift some biceps for like 10 minutes because you didn't have a meal? Like, yes, you absolutely can. And I do think, for me, what I like to do is I'm trying to peak insulin sensitivity through the workout and then eat food after that. Insulin is a shuttler. Insulin is our friend. It's actually good. It gets like such a bad reputation. It's a shuttler hormone that helps shuttle energy into our cells. So I would like to eat in an environment where my insulin sensitivity is high, and that happens after we work out. So I'm a big fan of training fasted and eating after training. One other little thing I'll add real quick, and then I'm done on this one is I noticed, I listened to Ben Greenfield on a podcast mention that he does a similar approach. Like, he'll eat dinner. He'll train kind of right before dinner, and then he'll eat a big.
Yes, I heard that too, because he's like, I want to eat. He goes, I want my meal to be like in the evening. So now I changed my workout, like you said, like you were doing, to adjust it.
Yep. Exactly. So for me, that doesn't work out for me and my lifestyle very well. Plus, I like, personally, I really like that get up and go in the morning of that dopamine, adrenaline. It gets me on fire for work. And I work from home and have flexible schedules, so I can go work out like mid-morning. So that works really well for me. I don't personally have as much energy in the afternoon. Like, a late afternoon workout is like a death sentence to me. Like,
I'm so the same way. You and I are like, let's get up, get it done, and then I want to hack off and chill out and have fun in the afternoon or whatever.
Exactly. Like, and my kids are coming home from school, and it's just football practice, and it's just chaos,
Yeah.
So, but I was just at a mastermind with a couple other guys that are like, one of the guys was super fit. All the other guys were calling him the specimen. You know what I mean? He's just this like super fit dude. And then the other guy who was running the mastermind was also very fit, and they both said they do the same approach. They work out late afternoon and they feast for dinner, right? So it's this 1 meal a day approach. So it's a cool, it's like, it just sounds a little crazy, but a lot of people are loving it. So it's just something to explore for yourself. See if you like it. If not, no worries, all good. But just throwing that out there, because for me and for a lot of other people, it's been like really cool approach to like hack weight loss or fat loss or maintenance or because like we're all in the same boat. All of us want to be fat. All of us want to eat all the things. All of us want to so it's like, how do we hack this in a way that fits my lifestyle where it kind of becomes easy? And that's for me, that's what that's been. Now, do I go off of it sometimes because I'm in social situations? Yes, I do. I'm like, all good. Who cares? I'll just go back on it tomorrow, so that's just an idea that I think actually has a lot of scientific backing. That's really awesome on the intermittent fasting, and also can be just a really cool life groove to make things a little bit easier.
I love it. Yeah. Wonder what. Oh, I had a random one in here. I doubt people have this happen often, but a quick one. If you ever feel like you're getting hoarse, you've talked too much, you feel like using your voice again, like just that's like a singer thing. You just breathe in some steam. I've had that fix it up where I really felt I was losing my voice. I had interviews the next day, and I just sat there, steaming pot of hot water and just like breathed that in and just kept going and taking some hits of that, and that really helped. But one of the other random ones, because it came up lately because I've been back to swimming again. So swimming in a chlorinated pool, it sucks, right? But you know what? That's the only option right now. I don't have a saltwater pool. So what I do to sort of offset that is I rub my entire body in coconut oil, and it gives me about 30 minutes. It really still coats my body for about 30 minutes of swimming. And then what I also do, especially for thyroid people, because chlorine can displace iodine, is even though I take thyroid hormone and I'm good, I still will hack it where if I'm swimming 3 days a week, maybe I take iodine twice a week or once. I just throw it in there on the big swimming weeks. And now that I'm swimming a lot, I'm making sure that I'm like coconut oil all over the body, and then like maybe some iodine or extra minerals that day just to offset any of that
That's cool.
shitty chlorine. Yeah.
Love it. Not to mention your leg. Yeah, what's up? Look at me. You're all like oiled up.
I'm all shiny. The only problem is with the bikini's like slipping off my boobs, and I'm like, okay, sorry. People do ask me though. They go, well, what do you do about your hair? So I don't dye my hair blonde, but whether you are a natural blonde or not, it will turn green with chlorine. So everyone's like, well, what do you do? You wet it first to put it under a cap, but sometimes I put leave-in conditioner in there too, and then wash it afterwards because having green hair sucks. Okay, if your kids, you have a kid who's got blonde hair, I'm sure you've seen them in the summer and like they've got that green tint in their hair. So people ask me that a lot. I just thought I'd throw it out there. But yeah, no, these are some good hacks. We just wanted to do a quick one. Oh, here's one more. I had high mercury and I've worked to get rid of that. But part of that has been like really kind of not doing fish as crazy as I once was, or being careful about those qualities. But there's going to be times when I want to go out and go to town on some sushi or something like that. So someone taught me, I forgot who it was, but they taught me this hack. They were like, the same stuff you take to detox, like I used a product called Pectaclear, but it's modified citrus pectin and sodium alginate. It's like a natural way to kind of clean out the mercury or toxins of your body. So I still have some left and around. So if I were to go out for sushi tonight, an hour beforehand, I would take one of those, even though I'm not currently in an aggressive, do you know what I mean? Kind of as a hack to just kind of buffer that in case, because we don't know what the fish or whatever, and I still want to enjoy a whole thing of sashimi. You know what I mean? And I don't want to not do that, but that's kind of a hack that I do.
I love it. Those are great tips. I'll share one last one and I'll be done. Minerals. So even though I'm crap shooting it half the time, all my dosages, I really need to get my dosages.
What about like a trace mineral drops blend?
Yeah, I love trace mineral drops too. But like, because I've done the hair mineral analysis, I know what I need more. I have the ratios, so I need to be a little bit more proactive on doing that. But I'm still taking them. I'm still doing iodine and some, they've got a peak thyroid. This is upgraded formulas. If you guys are curious, that's who I use. And there's a link in my Instagram bio if anybody wants to find out more about that. It's Coach Chair Garrison. But what I do is I get this. Okay, I'm embarrassed to admit this. I should just not even admit this, but I am going to, because sometimes we gotta keep it real. I have like one of those giant like gas station soda cups, and it's plastic and it's not the most optimal, but I like it because it's huge.
Yes.
And I do it. It's like, to me, it's like, is it going to make you do it? Okay, do it then. So I just fill that sucker up with water, and I do an electrolyte supplement, like something like Ultima Replenisher or something sweetened with stevia. And then I add all my minerals to it. And then all night long, like after dinner or in the evening or whatever, I just sip on that sucker all night. And it makes me not even care about eating, right? Like I feel so full from it. Plus it's a built-in way to be getting in those things, like all of those liquid droppy things that you have that you kind of want to be taking or whatever. It's a cool way to build that system into your life, so it's serving multiple purposes at once. So I love my big giant mineral drink in my ghetto gas station cup, like at night. It really helps. And then one other thing that I do at night, if you're trying to like curb cravings, is I am obsessed with those Bragg's apple cider vinegar drinks, the one that's like ginger spice. Yes. It's sweet stevia. That thing will curb your appetite so quick because the apple cider vinegar helps with that, right? And it also helps with digestion. It helps with insulin sensitivity, blood sugar. So I love those suckers. So if you like, they're a little bit expensive, but I don't care. They got me.
they got me too. They're tasty. I love that grape one, man. And I like, all that stuff. I want to bring up the upgraded formulas. We both did the hair analysis test. What's interesting, so I just want to show this to people, it said that you were lacking in magnesium, right? Yeah. And he was like, stop taking magnesium.
Oh, you're overdoing it.
He was like, no calcium and magnesium. The interesting thing is I wasn't regularly taking calcium at all until about 2 months before that test, when I bought a Cal-Mag combo instead. I don't know why. I don't normally take calcium. But anyway, it was just very interesting that he was like, actually, chill the frick out on that. You know what I mean? So it's not the same for everybody, you know?
Yeah, it's so cool to find out, I love this stuff. I love, like, finding out. Like, how the hell are you supposed to know if you don't ever find out? So
there's a great test, though, people, and in wrapping up, Spectracell is a blood test. You can do hair analysis, too, but Spectracell is something that a lot of doctors do, and they, like, curate your blood for 3 weeks or whatever they do, and they figure out all of your nutrient deficiencies. I'm sure there's lots of other tests. You probably are keyed into some of them, but that is one of the tests that really helped me discover some, like, I had a CoQ10 deficiency, I had a selenium deficiency. Like, who the hell? No one tests for this stuff at a regular doctor. How would I have known? So these things are really important. But the upgraded formulas hair analysis is inexpensive. It's quick. And hey, I matched it up against a heavy metal test I took that was through urine, which is really the way to do it. But actually, they were side by side. They were correctly reflective of each other. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so awesome. Man, we could go on forever,
I
but
know.
I guess we got to wrap this up eventually. But hopefully that was helpful to you guys. We have so many. Maybe we'll have to do like a version 2, and we'll go specific on different topics because I know.
And we can get into some life hacks too on the next one as well. Like do some more biohacks, but also some life hacks. There's some just good like household random things in life that you learn along the way. So yeah.
Yeah, that's always fun. I like that. All
right,
let's do
everyone. All right, cool.
Okay.
We'll see you guys next week.